I think the times came for Dobby to go hybrid. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So let's just kick it off. As most of you know, Dobby is strictly a power station only micro camper. I love it because of how simplistic they are. They're all in one form factor. You've got your USBs installed, you've got the inverter installed, you've got 240 volt installed, you can carry it about, you can take it wherever you like. All of those features are basically in one big box. And if you've been following the channel from the start, you'll know that I've went this route because I know hee-haw about electrics. I didn't want to bog myself down with the basics of learning all the electrics, the ins and outs and the wiring and the voltage and all of that stuff, because I knew I had a van to build and I prioritised building the actual van over the electrics part of it because I have saw power stations. But having said that, as of late, RobnDob has been dipping its tread into the electrics when we installed a very simple electrical system with a fuse box, as you can see up here, and this is just running the diesel heater, the fridge and the lights, and it's all working brilliantly. However, it isn't perfect. So my max amp load in here is roughly around about 23-25 amps. The fridge is taking roughly about 5, the lights are roughly about 3, and the diesel heater is roughly between 10 and 15. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, Robert, the bluetti socket is only rated for 10 amps, and you're absolutely right, it is. But I do have a way to get around it. So the way I've gotten around it is because obviously I put it in the winter, I need heat first. So I would turn the diesel heater on without the lights. I do have a USB light in here that I can plug in, but I've been running the diesel heater first, get it up to temperature, and then once it starts dropping down to a lower wattage, I can then use everything. Then when I want to turn the diesel heater off, I need to turn the lights in the fridge off so that it has enough power to cool down. So it's not an ideal setup. So the 12 volt socket that I use on the bluetti is only rated for 10 amps, but not all power station 12 volt sockets are rated the same. Case in being that all powers has got the same 10 amp fused socket, but the max wattage that it will put out is 120 watts. My diesel heater is a 5 kilowatt hour diesel heater and it only uses 90 to 95 watts to get the glow plugs warmed up, but on cool down it's roughly about 123 watts. But the bluetti on the other hand, with the same 10 amp fused socket, can go up to 127 watts that I've found anyway, and it handles the diesel heater fine. On the all powers though, it'll cut out once it reaches that 120 watts threshold. It just stops, which is bad for your diesel heater. But these are the compromises that you need to make in micro campers, or if you're like me, you're not technically savvy with electrics and all that stuff, and it takes you a wee bit of time to understand the processes, then you need to make sacrifices somewhere. However, all that buffoonery stops today, thanks to today's sponsor, LiTime. So LiTime reached out asking if I'd like to review their leisure battery, which is a LiFePo 4 100 amp hour deep cycle leisure battery, but I respectfully declined and told them my setup is mostly on power stations and the leisure battery wouldn't be any good to me. And then later that day I was in the van and I was doing something with the Charger 1, and then it hit me, what if I used the leisure battery solely for the diesel heater? It would be on its own circuit. I wouldn't have to turn the lights off or the fridge. I've already got solar installed, but I've also got Charger 1 there as well to charge it. And not only that, we're now coming into summer, so I'm not anticipating using the diesel heater a lot this summer. And then it got me thinking about comments that you guys made on a previous video, and you were saying about getting a leisure battery and using it as a battery extension for a power station. So I do listen. So because this is a 100 amp hour battery, it's roughly about 1280 watts, I think it is. So when we're off grid and we've got, say, the bluetti and it's 1440 watt hours, we can then stay off grid for longer instead of having to drive when the bluetti loses power, because we can now top it up with this. That's insane, given where we were at the start of this channel with one power station EcoFlow at 250 watt hours. By installing this battery without the Charger 1, anything else, we can go up to 2720 watt hours. That just blows my mind. And that isn't including, we bring the R1500, which is 1250 watt hours, and then we bring the R600, then we bring the hands-free. I've got power coming out my eyes now. The one thing I used to worry on this channel was if we were going to have enough power to do music, to do videos, to do anything. I need more space to put the power in. Let's get this open and have a wee look at it. So before I crack this open and we have a wee look at it and I get into the setup that I've got planned for it, this setup wasn't on my radar. I love power station setups. Had LiTime not sent me this battery, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have purchased this battery due to the unknowns from myself, knowing how to set it up, what battery to choose, the capacity of the battery I should buy. But with LiTime reaching out to me, they've managed to take away two of my concerns: what size of battery and what battery to choose, because with them offering me this, it basically took all the guesswork away, and all I had to do was focus on this battery and the capabilities and what I can actually do with it. So it's took away a lot of the headache. It then got me thinking how to structure it out for a video, and I thought this might actually help you guys as well that are in a similar situation, and if a hybrid build would work for you. So let's get it unboxed. So you get your manuals, basically warranty cards and diagrams how to set it up in that. They've gave us wee stickers as well. I quite like that. And we've got a wee bag full of bolts. You've got wee cap toppers for your positive and negative, and then you've got your bolts there as well with a couple of washers. And there's the battery there. Oh, so it's got handles on the top of it. It's actually quite light. I think it's something like £24, but aye, so that's it there. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a tech guy and that I know a lot about leisure batteries, because I absolutely don't. So all the specs that I'm going to give you are from LiTime's website, but I'm going to throw a few in that I've researched myself. Let's cover the outside first. As you can see, we've got two protective grommets kind of things just to cover the terminals. You've got a wee QR code here, and with the QR code, if you go onto the website, they show videos on how to set up to inverters and first time checks to do with the battery, just to make sure that everything's working correctly. 12.8 volt, 100 amp hour, group 24 edition, and it's got all your information, nominal wattage, the capacity. It is the newer technology, lithium iron phosphate, LiFePO4 for short, so it's a lot more efficient, safer and less temperamental than lead acid, because I have heard stories of lead acid being unstable and exploding. With it being a LiFePO4, it also has a built-in BMS battery management system to preserve the battery and your devices from overheating, overcharging and short circuits. And the good thing as well, it's rated up to 4,000 charge cycles as opposed to lead batteries that are roughly about 500-600. So what I've researched from lead leisure batteries is you can only run them really down to 50%. I'm sure you can run them down to maybe 40% at a push, but any lower than that, it basically starts damaging the battery and the returns you get back are just degraded. In battery terms, there's a DOD depth of discharge. So my understanding, a lead battery has a DOD depth of discharge of 50%. So when I checked LiTime's depth of discharge for this unit, because I wanted to make sure that I was giving you the right information, on its website it said this had a depth of discharge at 100%. So basically we can run this flat. So when I said this battery's got 1280 watt hours, obviously there will be some degradation and stuff like that, but we've basically got the full battery. So depth of discharge on a deep cycle of 100% is cracking. I'll probably only run it to about 80. The weight of it is only £24, so it isn't that heavy. Plus you've got these nice handles up the top, which make it convenient for carrying it, and they just slot back in. So the battery itself is actually made out of ABS, flame retardant plastic, which also helps enable it to be IP65 waterproof, so you can splash water on it and you know it's not going to damage it. And like I said, you've got your QR code, which gives some helpful features on the website, along with two M8 bolts for attaching obviously your lugs or your crocodile clips, and these just screw on. I quite like these as opposed to the really thick ones that you get that just stick up. Your positive and your negative. And on LiTime's website it shows as well that there's 3 different options to charge this. You can do it by solar, DC to DC charging from say a fuel generator, and the third method is from a LiFePO4 battery charger, which you can plug into the house. And that's the features, which now leads me on to my setup and how I'm going to use this battery within Dobby to make them a hybrid. And more importantly, how am I going to charge this and keep it topped up? So much like the fuse box, I like to keep things as simple as possible, and this setup is no exception. So I'm going to break it down into usage and charging. Let's cover the usage part first. So again, the idea came to me to use this solely for the diesel heater so we can use the lights and the fridge without tripping the bluetti and possibly damaging the bluetti from having everything going at the one time. As it is just now, the diesel heater is wired here, and then you've got the inline fuse here, and this is just leading here, along here and up through to the fuse box, and the positive goes all the way up to the switch and then back down to the fuse box. So I'm going to completely bypass the switch and the fuse box. From the diesel heater, I've got an inline fuse. I'm going to keep the inline fuse where it is. To break that up so I've got more control, I'm going to add another switch in. So this will be after the inline fuse, but before the battery. So we will have control, and it's not going to be the diesel heater is just always active. And just to keep everything nice and tidy and all in the one place, it's going to be going in here. So the way that it's going to work now is I'm going to take this divider out and I'm going to put the battery in here so that I can then put the wire through here and go all the way around to the diesel heater, and the switch will probably go, I don't know, maybe there or something. So I'm aware by putting it in, as I like to call it, my toiletry box, I know I'm losing space, but I'm not going to get into it for this video, but there is a partial remodel coming which is going to give more space, give more storage, and it's going to help accommodate some of the upgrades that I've already had. So that video is coming soon, so get subscribed if you haven't already. So how am I going to charge it? Well, I've got a few options. So first of all, this battery doesn't have any Bluetooth or anything like that, so it's hard to see how much capacity is left in it and if it's close to full charge. So what I've bought, which I know isn't 100% accurate, but it's a rough estimation, is a battery meter. I think it was like £8 or something off Amazon, and this one basically shows the current voltage and how much capacity is in the battery. So I'll see if I can get it on without having to actually plug it in. So I don't know if you can see that, and it actually beeps when your battery's full. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get double-sided sticky tape, fit it there, so then when I open the lid up I can see in a rough battery capacity, and it does have a light that you can turn on and off. So the first and easy way that I can charge this is by solar. As I said when I installed the Charger 1, if you missed that video I'll leave it here. I'm going to be taking the solar off the roof. The roof box is covering the solar, and I need the roof box on the van for the spare wheel, but I'm going to be adding a fan in its place just to keep the cab nice and cool during the summer. I've also got another bit of room to play with, so I might get a small 30 to 50 watt solar panel, and because I've already got the hole cut in for the solar, I could just plug that in as well, just to keep it topped up and stuff. But in order to make the solar work with this, I also got a MPPT charger, and so you basically connect your solar panel cables to the left here, and then you bring a positive and negative out of the battery icon straight to the battery. This one actually detects the battery so it doesn't overcharge it and you know the rest of it, but that's if I was going to go down the solar route. And another option, but I'm waiting on it coming from Amazon, is I've bought a LiFePo 4 battery charger, and all you do is you basically put them onto the positive minus and you can plug it into a 240 volt into your house. And unlike with this meter, the battery charger does have green and red lights to let you know when the battery's fully charged. It doesn't have an LCD screen, but it does give you an indication based on the lights, and then when it gets to charge it basically cuts off. And another option that I've got is using the Charger 1 to charge this. All I would need to do is input the Charger 1 into the solar panel cables, and then within the bluetti app I can change the voltage of the Charger 1 because it is fully adjustable. I would rather do a lot more testing for this just to make sure I get the right voltage, the right, you know, output and stuff like that, so I don't damage any of the systems that I've got. And then lastly, I was thinking about this one. I don't think I'd use it all the time, but it's there in a pinch if I need it. With the bluetti Charger 1 charging the power station, you could then use the LiFePo 4 battery charger on the 240 volt plugged in to the power station, and then from the power station plugged into this. So as you're driving and charging your power station, you can be charging this as well. To combat the stress load that's coming from the alternator, I could maybe dial the bluetti back to maybe 300 watts, because the bluetti is just going to charge this as though it's just using a 240 volt piece of equipment. It's not like this is going to ask for a lot of power, it's just going to take what the max output the 240 volt is going to give from the bluetti or the all powers, and with the energy that the power station's giving this, the bluetti charger 1 is going to give the power back to the power station. So basically it's just going to be a loop of charging, and because of the battery management system on this battery, it isn't going to overcharge it. This can be used as an extension for your power station, but your power station can also charge it with the bluetti charger 1. And if the cables come before I need to put this video out, I will show a demonstration of the cables that I'm going to use. I will insert it into the video so that you can see the setup and how I'm planning on using it. I cracked open the manual just to check other methods of charging, and on the left hand page it's got battery charger and alternator and DC-DC charging, which again I was just talking about the charger 1, because the charger 1 is a DC to DC charger, and it says right here the LiTime battery can be charged by an alternator or generator. If the alternator generator supports DC output, DC to DC charger needs to be added between the battery and the generator, which it is, which is what that wee box is for the bluetti charger 1. And it also gives you the recommended charging voltage as well as the recommended charging current. So at 20 amps the battery will be fully charged in around 5 hours to 100% capacity. At 50 amps the battery will be charged in around 2 hours at around 97% capacity, and its recommended voltage for the bluetti charger 1 to charge the LiTime leisure battery is 14.2 volts to 14.6 volts. LiTime have just confirmed that the bluetti charger 1 will charge the leisure battery. I'm so gobsmacked and I'm so over the moon with that. So now we don't even need to use the solar MPPT controller to manage the voltage going into the battery, because the bluetti charger 1 is already doing that, because we're going to set the voltage. All we need to do is just plug in lug nut terminals to the battery and we are good to go. As it goes to show, it's always handy to look at the manual. So for this setup, we're basically looking to use the battery as a power station extension. So to keep this setup as simple as possible, I have this cable here, which I got from Amazon. All the cables that I use, I'll leave the links in the description. So it's a 12 gauge wire. The positive and negative go to the battery, and on the positive there's a 20 amp inline fuse, as you can see there. And at the other end we're using Anderson connectors, and on the power station side for the bluetti hands-free and the all powers R1500 we're going to be using the XT60 again to Anderson. Get the positive on first, and it doesn't need to be super tight, it's just to basically show it working. And then you take this end and just connect it like that. So on the hands-free we have 68%, and there you go. So we're currently getting 105, 104 watts coming from the leisure battery. So let's see what we get with all powers. Same setup, same cable, different power station. All powers is currently at 87%. On the all powers we're actually getting 110 watts. So the thing you need to bear in mind is we're not looking for the leisure battery to fully charge the power station. The power stations are still the main hub. This is just topping the power up so that we're still able to use the USBs, the 240 volt, the 12 volt, wireless charging. So the leisure battery will keep us going with that. And like I said, this can be plugged in to the bluetti charger. So when we come to use the bluetti charger 1, it's pretty much going to be the same cables going onto the terminals, but down here is going to be MC4. The MC4 cable will come down from here and into the back of this cupboard here, where basically the MC4 cables are sitting for the bluetti charger 1. Then all I need to do is just set the voltage and we're good to go. So while that's doing its thing, I'll show you the battery charger that I got. So I got the Roy Pow C1R6. You've got to make sure that if you're using a LiFePO 4 battery, you need to make sure it's a LiFePO 4 battery, or at least it supports it. That shoe Nice and simple. So on the battery, there's different LED indicators, and when both of them are green, it means that the battery is fully charged. And then the output watts should be down here. We're giving it 152 watts from the 240 volt with the charger to the battery. And as you can see on the battery, we've got a red and a green, so it's showing that it's charging. So technically, you can use the leisure battery as an extension for the power station, and you can also use the power station to charge the leisure battery. But if I'm being honest, I don't see this as a method I would use all the time. That kind of scenario, off-grid, running out of power, want to top the power station up, this is what I would go for. So as you saw with this setup, from one power cable getting used to either get plugged into the bluetti or the all powers to charge it. Again, I do need to get the DC 90, I think it is, or the 909 cable for the bluetti. With the XT60 I can charge the hands-free and the all powers from this battery, and then to charge this battery I can use the LiFePo 4 battery charger on the two terminals, powered from the power station, and to keep the power station topped up I can use a charger one when I'm driving. So do I think it's worth it? Absolutely. This setup is so simple that anybody can do it. Plus the fact is I can also use these handles to take the battery out of the actual box, take it inside and charge it with that battery charger. So I've got a full battery before I go anywhere. And with regards to solar, if you already have the solar set up, it doesn't hurt to make a cable just for solar, so that if you are off grid, you could unplug the power station, and even if it's just 30-50 watts, it's still giving you a wee trickle in and gives you something back. And even though I'm going to be using it for the diesel heater more in the winter months, I am going to use it more as a battery extension. So guys, if you want to go and pick this up, I'll leave a link for it in the description, and the link will give you 5% off, or there's a 5% code there as well. So again, if you're on the market for maybe getting a bit more power, this is a good fit. And if you do go down this route, I'll leave the connections, the wires and everything for my setup in the description below, so you can go and pick them up and you can have the exact same setup that I've got in here, so you know it's going to work for you. So as always guys, if you found this video helpful and you did go and enjoy it, a like would be much appreciated, and it does help the channel massively and gets the video out to more and more people. And if you haven't already, why not get subscribed and hit that bell notification so you're notified when I release a new video. The first episode of Sky is coming this Sunday, so if you don't want to miss it, you know what to do. So until the next one guys, peace.